wherever you might be. Today, a tiny one. Yeah, I know my video is late, but I wanted to spend some time with my new buddy. I have a white one, he said. Something that in my unboxing video I didn't see, and I'm an idiot, I didn't look at the bottom of the amp. At the bottom of this amp, it says, built for Henning, not Tubbs. So take that, Sean Tubbs, who of course, got this before me. But that's not a rivalry, it's more like a mutual respect kind of a thing. So what is the Revv D20? Well, it's an all-tube amp. It's a one-channel amp. It's the Revv, because it's kind of in the name. It's in the D series. There's the generator series where we have the generator 120, the generator 100P, the generator 100, different second channels. And then there's the generator 740. Mine's over there. And then there's the Dynamis, which is kind of different. It's not like the metal thing. It's a super flexible, awesome amp with one of the best clean channels and best pedal channels on the market. Now, this is not meant to be the Dynamis in small. It's its own thing. One channel amp with a pullable gain thing. So you have kind of an in-between between like the clean and then a little bit of a crunchy thing happening here when you pull this. That's not foot switchable. It's still a one-channel amp, but it gives this amp more sounds and more flexibility. Of course, driving a already kind of cranky amp with a tube screamer is more cranky. So this is supposed to be the pedal platform. And 3-band EQ, volume, 20 watts, 6v6 loaded. It's not the most brutal in terms of volume, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a very giggable and usable amp, and especially portable, maybe like worship stuff, where it would be great because it can go DI, but we get to that. So there's so many features I'm trying to get out. The most amazing thing that you notice about it is how super light it is. I would give you that data in kilograms or pounds if I had measured it, but I didn't. So it's le light, as they say in French Canada. On the front panel, which you don't see a lot with amps, is a headphone out, which is pretty damn cool because you can run this amp without any cab and just use headphones, or DI, of course. You can switch it down to 4 watts with this knobby. And then there's a pre-post switch, which determines the torpedo position. Yes, it has a virtual cabinet, full torpedo built in with a load box, so you can run it without a cab. 6 presets, but with MIDI you have access to 128. And you can just, switch around here, and then it switches the cabs. And you see, whoa, look, software, we're skipping ahead in the video. Look, I switched the knob, and it switches the presets back to me. There's a volume knob, which is a mini pot, as you can see, sticks out quite a bit. And that, I thought, is only for the headphone volume, but it actually is the level for headphone and the DI out at the same time. And it actually regulates the digital out. So when I move that up and down, you can actually see in the software that the digital output moves up and down. So that's not an analog knob, it's a knob that controls the software. Pre-post. Pre-post determines if you're only using the preamp and you're going into the virtual power amp from the Torpedo, therefore being able to switch tubes around, or in post, you're actually using the built-in power amp and everything and getting the saturation from the real 6v6 tubes, and then it's going into the Torpedo. Kind of a nifty thing. If we go to the back of the amp, we can see that right here is the built-in load. So I can just now pull the speaker and the amp does not break. If the speaker is not connected, it technically goes to the built-in load automatically, so not to break the amp. 8 and 16, no, is that? 4 and 8 ohm. Who uses 4 ohm? Okay, well, you can select that. Effects loop, which right now we've got connected. Then there's the XLR out. XLR. Yep. With a ground lift right next to it, in case you need that. Then the USB, which is right now connected to the Mac for the software. Over here is MIDI. And what you can see under here are some bias points. And then fuses and shit. Now, Leslie pointed out that there's a screw sticking out. And I was hoping no one would notice, but since she noticed, and she doesn't notice shit about guitar stuff, because she really doesn't give a flying rat's ass, I think I point out why the screw is sticking out. It's right here. Now, if I screw that screw in all the way, when I have the amp on post, I have almost no level on the digital out. If I take it out a little bit, I don't. So apparently that screw is pushing on something inside. And I talked to Dan from Revv, and he's like, he heard my problem, and he's like, well, try the screw and blah, blah, blah. Someone, not Dan, in the very first run, which is what this is from, used screws that are a little bit too long. So obviously your amp won't have that problem. Your amp will not have the screw sticking out. So not a problem at all. We covered this. That's the amp. Let's talk about the setup. I have my Mayonnaise headless. Modern guitar, modern amp, why not? Can't go through 20 guitars with this amp. Even though I have a Revv cab in my mom's basement, I was too lazy, so please Revv people forgive me. This was still here from yesterday's video. So I'm using this V30 loaded Synergy cab because even though it's got a torpedo, we're not just gonna listen to the torpedo. No, we want to hear everything. So we're gonna go into the Synergy cab with the Lewitt MTP 440 in front of it. We're also gonna go into the Tone King cab, which has a modified V30 back there. Sounds different, it's an open back. Of course, it's a combo, but we're using only the cab part of it. We're not going to go into the aux like we sometimes do, because that has its own speaker simulator. You would never buy this amp and then buy an aux. What the fuck is the point? You're going to use the torpedo and all its amazing flexibility. Yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see how loud it is. And because with the Marshall amps, I killed my ears. I still have ringing here, and I hope it goes away at some point. Who knows? I'm going to use earplugs. And once we know how loud it is, we're going to go and attenuate it using the Tone King attenuator. Because even though it's got a built-in load, it doesn't have a load box with attenuation. Except for if you go to the 4 watt, which we're going to test. But for the remainder of the video after the loudness test, I want to attenuate it. So it is not ultra brutally loud, it is loud. How much it can survive against like a metal-y kind of drummer? I'm gonna go borderline. Probably not blasting against a massively loud drummer, but also not quiet. But of course, if you go volume up, gain up, volume up, you're not going to get cleans to be ultra loud because you're going to drive the tubes and all that stuff. I think the best idea would be to work in a practice room environment where you have in-ear monitoring or headphones or something. Use the torpedo and then go. Because that's, of course, sound-wise, the best idea. So now I'm going to go and use the attenuator. So I have it behind the Tone King Iron Man 2 attenuator. And we're off to the races. Let's take it through its paces. With the cab in clean. Here we go. You can hear it's it's fizzling a bit. So Dan recommended to take down the guitar volume a bit, which I'm not the hugest fan of because it will change the sound depending on your guitar. See? This is a 3,000 euro guitar and still I'm rolling off the high end. So I'm gonna say if someone tells me, well, it's gonna be very clean when you roll back the guitar volume, that's not an ideal situation. Because I'm changing the sound. So I'm gonna roll back the gain here. Let's try some effects. I'm going to put on The Dark World by Chase Bliss. Now, that's less input and that's beautifully clean. This is meant to be the pedal platform amp. I have a feeling that for the clean aficionado, the headroom is just a little bit too low. That's nice. And that's pushing it too much. Now, obviously, this is a modern guitar with higher output pickups, but you might be using something like this. If I, of course, go in with my Strat or maybe even the AZ or a Tele, it's all good. Just so that you know. If you go in with a PRS, they're usually more on the hotter side. So just know if you have a hotter guitar, you're a hot guy. That's the Chase Bliss Warp Vinyl into the Chase Bliss, what is that thing? Total Recall, into the Dark World. So we're gonna say the effects loop works rather nice. Let's try the forward mode right now. What the? I turned them both on, that's why. Don't know how the pedal works. Forward. Considerably quieter. That definitely counts as bedroomish. Wait, I have it attenuated, so, roll it back a bit, but comparatively quieter. Good. We're gonna go and I'm gonna put a tube screamer in front of it, which is the KHDK Ghoul Screamer. That works really, really well. Now, Let's crank up the gain. As soon as you're going with any kind of drive, that little bit of a headroom thing is beautiful because it's at the edge of where you want it to be. I don't know. Stuff. So, yeah, that works. That's without pulling it, she said. Now I'm pulling it. So that's not at the edge of breakup. That amp actually has some crunchy gain. Beautiful. More. Technically means the red light means I'm overloading the torpedo, but we're too hot into the torpedo, which is weird because, I mean, shouldn't I be able to crank this thing up all the fucking way? Because why would I overload it internally with its own volume? Huh? Okay. Back to clean. Treble. Quite a bit of treble on tap. That's a very effective treble knob. Middle. Yeah, it's not a Marshall EQ. It's actually an effective EQ. Well, let's not tube scream it. Let's G3 it. That's pretty impressive. That's as metal as it gets at a, decent volume. I don't think I want to push an already driven amp with the G3, but I'll try it. That works. So, try. Let's try a different cab. So we're going to go into the Tone King cab. Also beautiful. We're going to do that with the G3. So, Tone King cab done. We're gonna go and actually, well, have no cab, which is what the whole pièce de résistance about this amp is. So I turn on the internal load, and I hear nothing, up to the point where now I increase the volume. Let me check my recording level here. It's too loud. Okay. So I made two presets to record the song at the beginning, both using cabs that are not included, but I'll show you what is included. So this is what the software looks like. And it is pretty much the Two Notes Cab M, or the software that runs the Cab M or the Live, not the studio yet. It's the one with two mics, and you can move them around as you please, which is pretty damn cool with these knobbies right here. You can see that you can move the mic distance and all this stuff. So that's a Sir 112 in a crypt, and then I have this Fortin in a studio. You see how I switched on the amp, huh? Cool, huh? So what's included are Revv cabs, 3 of them, British Vintage C, I don't know, high watt maybe, something, and then this, and then, well, the first 10 of them. The others I loaded in because I have a lot of cabs. Go ahead and buy them. That's some really good stuff. So this has arcade and simulation mode. And did you see what happened? God damn it! Please, Two Notes people, fix that. So I had my mics all lined up, right? But once you switch to arcade mode, there's only one mic and only in one position. So when you go back to simulation mode, your mic positioning is gone. I'm going to demonstrate that. I'm going to move that out a little bit here. Going to move that a little bit over here. So 2 mics positioned beautifully. I go to arcade, maybe by accident, maybe I want to play around with it. But when I go back to simulation, my positioning should remain. And it does not. So I go back to my preset and there it is. But that really is something that they should address, please. So right now you can see that the built-in power amp is off. Built-in EQ is off. I have the reverb on, which is just the studio. And we're going to go only to the cabs that are loaded onto the built-in Torpedo right now. I'm going to call up the Revv 412 right there. We're going to play around with that a little bit. Tube Screamer. So pull that out. As he said. I'm going to mute mic 2. A little bit too fizzly way in the middle, so I'm pulling it out a bit. Of course, you can change the mics, all that, but I'm going to stick with my 57 and 87. That should give me a little bit of room, so if I turn them both back on, so let's stick with that sound. I'm going to go change it to pre. Now it's not using the power amp from the D20, but I'm using the power amp from the Two Notes, which is the simulation. And right now we're on 34s. So different than what the amp has to offer. Options. So we're going to go back to this, going to turn this off. I could go to 112s and use the 112 Revv. The one thing I don't understand, frankly, in the Two Notes software, you've got this huge graphic for the room, and the cabs are always this small, and the mics are always this small. Kind of feels the relationship between the proportions between cab and room, even though looking realistic, I just want to see more of the actual thing that it's about. Just saying. What's nice about the software, it scales beautifully. You can pull the window up and down and it scales beautifully to any resolution. Don't know why I'm mentioning that, but for me, that shit's important. So we can, of course, change mics. Let's do 421. And a ribbon. So generally about the Torpedo, a lot is level juggling. Level on the gain, which is also sound, but it's also level. On the power amp, which is sound, but also level. But then between the mics, you add the second mic, level comes in, which means back the main level off. Everything about the Torpedo is always make sure you know all the different spots where level happens and what they're set to. Because right now, it was pretty low. Cool. So if I, let's say, don't want to use my dark world, but I want to use some reverb from here, I'm going to go into the hall, grabbing a bit. More of that. It's a hall, but it's not a giant sounding hall. It's just a realistic hall. If you actually want reverb, you got to go to Cathedral, and there you got. It's really beautiful. Let's say I want to use that as one of my presets on the amp. So what I do is I hit save, go to 3, and call it Revv 112 verb save. Now I got my, here we go. I got my sewer in the crypt. I got my Fortin for some heavier stuff. Right there. Let's build one more, just for le sheet and le giggle. But not in a cathedral. I want that in the basement, maybe. Or something like this. No, I don't like this cap. There's a lot more. What's that? Oh, with a basement sound, that's very punky. Cool. Save that. Done. So with the MIDI, you can get to 127 probably, or 128 different presets. If you ask me, 6 is already kind of pushing it. So we have now the Sir Badger. We have a Fortin, which of course I bought extra, or got from Two Notes. Let's not kid ourselves. We have the Revv 112. We have the Watt, which is included. And then we have another Revv 112. And oh, look at that. It's grayed out because it's that one without reverb. And the last one, same thing, but with reverb. And then it comes to life. The amp does take pedals extremely well. Oh, that's a completely different world. And And that's all in there. So, did we forget anything? Not really. I think we covered it all. We did pre-post, we did everything. Yep, that's it. That's the Revv D20. I love that they have this fold over handle, because if you, for example, for stereo purposes, would want to stack two of them, that's necessary. So, verdict, what do I think? It's the first amp on the market that has a torpedo built in, which if you're looking at the price and you're going, wait a second, this small, 20 watts, one channel, why the crap is it so expensive? And I'm sorry I used the word expensive. That's what you might say. It's what I might say. But you have to consider that what's built inside is a full torpedo live, meaning it's got a load box, it's got USB, it's got presets, got all this. It doesn't have the full torpedo live interface, but the tech in it is technically an 800 euro piece of gear without the actual amp. So if we look at it this way, at I think $12.99, is it what it's at? Or is it $11.99? I don't know. I don't want to... Prices change. This video doesn't. So around that price point, you're looking at the amp being $400 or $500. Of course, that's not how we are counting it, but you have to consider that one of the big points of this amp is the built-in torpedo, which makes it a recording machine. It makes it a gigging machine to go directly front of house and have the perfect sounds, the perfect cabs for the sounds. You want a little bit of a, rockabilly, oldies kind of a thing, bam, you have the right cab. You want massive, metally thing, bam, you have the right kind of cab. It's all there. So it's a pedal platform, and if you want the heavy sounds, you can get that with the G3 and other pedals. And you have, which is absolutely important, the right cabs, because the cab is, I'm going to say 60% at least of the frequency response. Guitar, really not important. Amp, actually relatively unimportant for frequency response. The cab is everything. How much bass, mids, treble, all that stuff is there. That's all the cab. And that's all built in. The fact that you can run it without a cab, like we just did, built-in load means you can gig with this just by bringing the amp, which is very lightweight. So that's all brilliant. Now let's go to a couple critique points. I hope I don't get killed. If this front mini pot knob right here was just for the headphone level, I could live with the fact that it's a small knob without a line on it. Well, it is not. And that really bugs me, because this actually determines the XLR output as well as the headphone out. And it is too tiny, she never said. And most certainly, you cannot see what that's set to. Yes, it has a little indentation somewhere. And I'm actually like right in front of the amp with studio lights on it, and I can't see it. It's right now on at noon. So that means on a stage, fuck it, you cannot see that. This needs to have a line on it. There's no discussion about that. I don't want to hear about it. It's got to have a line on it. And actually, I would like this to be a bigger knob. I understand that the real estate is already eaten up, but that needs to be at least twice or three times. It needs to be a real knob with a real line on it that I can see. I'm fighting with the levels on the torpedoes on a regular basis. The torpedoes are great, great pieces of gear. Don't get me wrong, I love my torpedoes, but levels are an issue. Input versus output versus mic 1 to 2. You're constantly juggling them. And if that's the knob I'm juggling them with, I'm not happy. Okay? That needs to be clearly visible of where the level is set. And as a pedal platform, because they wanted in one channel to have the crunch and the clean, that means it's not an ultra mega stable clean platform. There is fizzle, there is drive, there is breakup, especially with a little bit of a higher output guitar in this amp. Now, you know what? Just to be fair, I'm gonna get a vintagey kind of output guitar. Let's be fair. Here we are. Don't know if that's in tune. Much easier to get it clean, absolutely. And that it's a great clean. Why am I driving? So, yes, that works. Just be aware of the fact that if your guitar is a little bit hotter, it is an amp that you have to dial in to really be clean. And if you have a guitar that's quite hot, you might not get it to be as sparkling as these pickups make it. I was hoping that as a pedal platform amp, it has a clean channel as stable as its brother, the Dynamis, which you simply just can't break up at all when it's in the clean channel. It just doesn't want to. But since this is a one-channel shared, kind of a thing, there's a compromise. At some point, it breaks up, and for me, that point is relatively fast. If primarily you're playing driven sounds, break-uppy sounds, tubey, screamy sounds, or metal sounds, that's all not an issue in any way. If you want super sparkling clean, don't expect them to be brutally loud. You're going to have to back it up quite a bit. That's all I'm saying. As such, super mega portable. It's tube. It's not modeling and all that shit. It actually sounds like tube. It feels like tube. It's a great amp when it comes to that. And the first amp on the market ever to work with two notes and have a Torpedo built in with presets. And you saw how easy it is to dial them in. No brainer whatsoever. And it's Revv, made in Canada by really cool people. I call them my friends. They might argue with me on that, but screw you guys. You're my friends. Which is why I can critique this and hopefully they don't kill me. If you're in the market for something super lightweight, it is ridiculously lightweight, okay? It really is. And real tube with all the flexibility of all the caps on the market. And you have a very powerful pedal board. That's what we have to say. And you have a really powerful pedal board. This is the box to get. And links are below. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, dogs. Well, he's sleeping. It's right there. Sleepyhead. And more animals at the end. Bye, guys.